All right. Thanks, Timsy, for joining us. Moving on, leader in blockchain, Algorand is betting big on India. The company announced a slew of tie-ups with NASSCOM, Thai Bangalore and Rural Finance Bank for Women. In conversation with CNBC-TV18's Ashwit Kumar, Algorand Foundation's CEO, S. Warden, talks about India as a hub for blockchain, tech, potential use cases and regulatory challenges.
The reason that we landed on India as our most important geography, and it is the only geography that we have a dedicated team, a vice president running a dedicated technical lead, ambassadors on the ground. We've gone very big in India, and so why? And we started this last year, so we have been doing this for a year. And why India? There's I guess 3 or 4 things. One is that India is the fastest growing G20 country. It was last year. We expect it to be one of the fastest growing countries in the G20 for the next 10 years. Sure. You had a very successful G20 summit this year, so congratulations on that. Second, the Indian government has already been very bleeding edge in terms of things that matter to Web3. First, identity. So you have the Aadhaar identity system, which is, you know, so many years old now, very cutting edge in the beginning. And second, of course, you've got the India stack built on Aadhaar with the direct payments, the UPI, right? And so countries like the United States are desperately trying to catch up to India for some of these other strides that it's making, particularly in identity and direct payments. And so we want to be with India as it pushes further ahead yet again at the forefront, and we think that forefront is going to be Web3.
Interesting. Let's talk about the strategy that Algorand Foundation has here as far as India is concerned. Just looking at the efforts in the last few months, few years, the one sense that gets is that the Algorand Foundation has a 3-pronged approach. They're looking to engage with the developer community, with the academia, as well as with the government. Can you give us some color on the initiatives of Algorand Foundation here in India?
How do you know so much about us already? You are really... So, yes, this is... What we're trying to do is we're trying to get a, how do you call it, a virtuous circle. So what you do is you do something, you have a bottoms-up approach and a top-down approach. Sure. So from the bottoms-up approach, we target the developer community. So the more people that understand how to build on Algorand, and it's not very hard, by the way, you just need to know Python. The more people that, you know, are building on Algorand, then we think, okay, these builders, they need to be with entrepreneurs. So the second, you know, leg of the stool, I would say, is that we try to encourage the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And we do that with pitch competitions, incubator partnerships. You've got a partnership with T-Hub, for example. And then the third prong of that approach is then to work with the government, work with larger companies to bring these solutions, deploy these solutions where they can be deployed at scale. So and then, of course, if you deploy at scale, then what do? You attract developers. Sure. So the way it works is that you get this kind of virtuous circle upward, and that's how you get a countrywide scaled impact.
The next leg that the government is aspiring for is that we've had digital payments. The next leg that the government is hoping for is digital credit. So I would just want to weave in the aspect when you talk of credit scoring using blockchain technology, how that can propel India's aspirations when we look at the next stage of digital lending and digital credit.
Well, if I can use Mandeshi again as an example, those women, thanks to Mandeshi, they have always now been able to get financing. But how do they establish credit? They establish credit because of the group that they belong to, right? This is a very tried and true way of getting credit for people that don't have an identity or credit history. The next step for them, though, is to be able to establish credit as an individual without having to rely on the group, the collateral and the group covering for me if I miss a payment, right? That's how credit works now. So you want to be able to bring to bear the experiences that you have. If you got an education certificate, if you made 5 payments on time in a row, if you got something or did something that establishes you as a good credit, this is going to be the next step. Now the problem with that is that you can say all of these great things about yourself, but nobody believes you. This is where blockchain technology comes in, because if it's on the blockchain, put on the blockchain by a third party, you can't touch it or mess with it. That's the beauty of it. And so it's believable, and you can point to it and everybody knows that it is secure and unadulterated, and therefore you can point to it proudly and say, I do have this good credit because I have done these things, and you don't have to trust me. It's right there on the blockchain.
All right, so let's get you more